with an all-important game with major playoff implications on the line and a game against the Steelers coming up. I wanted to look back at, what does the history of the Steelers looks like. I just started, right? I had heard we haven't beaten the Steelers since 2008. So I wanted to go back, look at the history between the Colts and the Steelers, because I know in my lifetime, Steelers have always been one of those bugaboo kind of teams, just for whatever reason. When the Steelers play the Colts, they have their best games. So I wanted to go back and look just how the history looked. And this dates back all the way to November 12th, 1950. And in the first matchup these teams ever played, Pittsburgh Steelers won 17-7 against the Baltimore Colts. But then as you come up to 1984, right? October 21st, 1984, it's the first time the Colts played the Steelers when the Colts moved to Indianapolis, and they won that game 17-16. But then the very next season, the Colts lose in Pittsburgh 45-3. Then lose in Pittsburgh again 21-7. Then lose in Indianapolis in 1991 21-3. Like the history here, there's so many L's. If you want to know what the all-time record is, the Steelers lead this series 27-6. Okay, these teams have played 33 times since 1950, and the Colts have won 6 times. Okay, we can't even call this a rivalry, dude. Right? The only reason we can really even call the Patriots a rivalry is because Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are like on the same level of greatness. But the Patriots pretty much dominated that series too, right? So when you look at it, like even during the Manning era, you think about the greats of these series, right? Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Hines Ward, Antonio Brown, Edgerrin James, Le'Veon Bell, Bob Sanders, Troy Polamalu, Robert Mathis, Dwight Freeney. All those guys I just named, if they're not Hall of Fame guys, and like in their prime, when they were at their best, they were Hall of Fame caliber type players, like Le'Veon Bell, not going to be a Hall of Fame guy. He's really the one I'm talking about. AB might not make it to the Hall of Fame because he's kind of crazy, but he was great, right? Great players in this rivalry through the years. And again, you can't really even call it a rivalry. If you look even during the Manning years, right? 2002, Colts lose 28-10. 2005, they win 26-7. But then later in that season, in the playoffs, they lose in Indianapolis 21-18. And then in 2008, the last game, the Colts beat the Steelers. It was in Pittsburgh. I would have never guessed, honestly, that it was in Pittsburgh, but it was in Pittsburgh. Colts win that game 24-20. Since that point, 2011, Pittsburgh wins 23-20. 2014, Pittsburgh wins 51-34. That was probably one of the games where they threw for 500 yards. 2015, very next season, 45-10. That was probably another 500-yard game for Big Ben. 2016, 28-7 Pittsburgh. That one was in Indianapolis. The next one in Indianapolis a year later, Pittsburgh wins 20-17. In 2019, in Pittsburgh, the Jacoby Brissett year. That was actually the game that everything changed. Jacoby hurts his foot. Everything kind of changed from that point. The Colts lose that game 26-14. In 2020, the Phillip Rivers year. Go to Pittsburgh, lose that game 28-24. Then in 2022, dysfunctional year for the Colts. In Indianapolis, they lose that game 24-17. And now a year later in Indianapolis again, we need to break this streak. We need to be able to beat the Steelers, not just for, putting another number in the streak for us, right? Again, it's 27-6 Steelers. We need to make that 27-7. We need to start balancing that out. We play the Steelers way too much for that to stay so uneven. We have to start balancing that out. But also, this beating the Steelers is going to be huge for the playoffs. If you watched the video earlier, and if you didn't, after this video, go check that one out. We're talking about the playoffs and what needs to happen this week. This game against the Steelers is going to be massive for what happens in the future, right? If things that should probably happen, then this is going to be a massive weekend for the Colts, and whatever happens Saturday is going to have a massive impact on what happens for the rest of the season. Do we make the playoffs? Do we not? And I understand there are some people that don't want us to make the playoffs for, better, draft position and getting a better receiver and blah, 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 whatever you want to say. I just want to see us win, especially against the Steelers. So again, I just thought it was interesting looking back at the history of this, just how little success the Colts have against the Steelers. In my belief, they're just teams that, for whatever reason, always have your number no matter what the circumstances are, right? Right now for the Colts, it's the Colts in Jacksonville. Can't figure it out, right? But also, doesn't matter the circumstances, the Chiefs rarely beat the Colts. I don't know why, but they rarely beat the Colts. They can be up by 5 scores in a playoff game and they're not going to beat the Colts. It's weird. Okay, these things happen in sports. And for some reason, Steelers always seem to be that team for the Colts. I can only hope that that changes this Saturday. You know, Steelers are about as vulnerable as they're ever going to be. So we need to be able to take advantage of the opportunity and win this game, have a little bit of comfort room in the playoff race going into week 16. And with so many teams at 7-6 in the AFC playoffs, again, it's very tight. We talked about it earlier. Go ahead, go watch that video. And we have videos every single day on this channel. So if you're not already subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to make sure you get notified when all these videos do come out. I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.